Sydney Sweeney's new movie Christie straight up made history for being one of the worst performing wide releases of all time. And no, that's not an exaggeration. Christie opened in about 2,000 theaters across the US. Wide release, big rollout, and still only pulled in $1.3 million its entire opening weekend, which breaks down to around $646 per theater. A literal empty room. Critics gave it mid-level reviews, 40s to 50s depending on the platform. Audiences, the few that actually showed up, gave it a 95% positive score. So yes, the people who watched it liked it. The real issue is, most people didn't bother to watch it. Which leads to the question everyone is screaming. Why did it tank this badly? And to answer that, we have to talk about the internet. We have to talk about controversy. And we have to talk about the part where this all got blown way out of proportion. But first, let's be honest with ourselves for 1 minute. A biopic about a lesbian boxer with a tragic, heavy backstory was never going to make Marvel numbers. It's niche. It's gritty. It's for a specific audience. And those movies usually rely on awards buzz and critical hype to carry them. There's nothing wrong with Christie's story itself. It's powerful, inspiring, and absolutely worth telling. Just not the kind of narrative that fills theaters on opening weekend. It's not a mainstream cultural event like a Michael Jackson biopic would be. Realistically, this is the type of film that performs far better on streaming than in cinemas, where smaller, character-driven stories usually find their audience. Now, Christie did have hype early on. Sydney completely changed her body. She trained like a real boxer. She gained weight for the role. She physically transformed so much that people didn't recognize her. People were whispering, Oscar role. Some were calling it her Charlize Theron in Monster moment. But that hype got steamrolled the moment the internet latched onto something else entirely. A fucking jeans ad. Sydney Sweeney has great genes. That was the whole line. It was meant to be a cute little pun. Genes, as in genetics, not jeans. A dad joke. A corny marketing bar, nothing more. But somehow, and this is where the modern internet truly baffles me,
shit's baffling.
People turned that harmless pun into accusations of white supremacy, eugenics, Aryan beauty standards, and every other buzzword Twitter keeps in its back pocket. Like, honestly, be serious. How does I have good genes suddenly translate to I'm a Nazi? How, bro? Show the math, because I'm not seeing the equation. Every meaning people attached to that ad was completely invented by the internet. It didn't imply superiority. It didn't imply exclusion. It didn't imply anything except Sydney Sweeney is attractive, which, newsflash, isn't exactly a controversial statement. And let's be real. Did she lie? No, the girl is stunning. She does have good genes. Saying she has good genes doesn't mean all white women do or that blonde women are superior. It simply means she is attractive. Period. I mean, let's be real. What percent of white women look like supermodels? Better question. What percent of any women look like supermodels? It's a tiny, tiny fraction. Somehow that simple compliment turned into a think piece about beauty standards and racial politics. And yes, we're in an era where representation matters. Great. But does that now mean blonde actresses aren't allowed to exist without a debate breaking out? Does every comment about a woman's looks have to become a social debate? Kids today won't even know what prime Megan Fox-era cinema felt like. My heart goes out to the younger generation.
My heart goes out to you. It's very unfortunate.
This whole controversy was just blown way out of proportion. It isn't deep, bro. It's just a corny joke. People just wanted it to be deep because everyone online needs a new villain every week to be offended by.
White women are no longer the beauty standard.
If a black person said, I have great natural hair, or I was born with a naturally bigger butt, nobody complains. Nobody yells, black supremacy. People literally reply, facts. But Sydney, a white actress, says the exact same kind of thing, in a literal pun, and suddenly the world collapses. Her saying, I have good genes could easily have been a compliment towards her fucking self, not a universal statement about all white people. Like, be for real, bro. I think a lot of the outrage comes from her mentioning traits like blue eyes and blonde hair. But what if those are simply the features she personally loves about herself? Everyone celebrates what they love about themselves. That's human. A black woman posting a gym video and being proud of her curves doesn't spark a political meltdown. A Latina woman complimenting her hair texture doesn't start a riot. So why the double standard? People don't care about context anymore. They just want something to be offended by. And because Sydney didn't immediately kneel, cry, or issue a 5-page apology for a pun, she automatically became a villain. It's the internet's favorite sport. And yes, I watched that interview where they asked her to denounce racism. The interviewer literally gave her a softball question, expecting her to read from the mandatory Hollywood script like, "Of course I denounce white supremacy." Instead, she said something a little vague.
White people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Like, that was kind of like the criticism, broadly speaking. And since you are talking about this, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that specifically.
I think that when I have an issue that I want to speak about, people will hear.
Maybe, and this is the part people don't want to admit, she just thinks the whole situation is stupid and doesn't care enough to feed the drama. Not everyone is rushing to give Twitter a TED Talk every time they sneeze. Meanwhile, the actual woman Sydney played, Christy Martin, is queer. She's married to a woman. She's an LGBTQ+ icon in sports, and she literally said she loved Sydney's performance. She defended her completely. She said Sydney captured her strength and pain. She praised her publicly. So tell me again why the queer community was mad, when the actual queer person at the center of the story wasn't. Exactly. Here's where things got even weirder. Because Sydney didn't give the exact answer people wanted, her whole fan base shifted. The far-right Twitter bros started claiming her as their queen. The edgy meme accounts started praising her. The anti-woke crowd started hyping her up as the victim of a witch hunt. Meanwhile, the progressive audience, the ones who would have actually shown up for a lesbian-themed biopic, felt uncomfortable supporting her. So she ended up in this terrible middle ground. The audience that likes movies like Christy didn't want to watch it. The audience that defended her online would never go watch a queer biopic. Basically, she was being cheered on by the wrong crowd and judged by the crowd she needed. That's the whole disaster right there. Just when everything was already messy, Ruby Rose jumped into the chat. You might know her from John Wick or whatever. She posted a whole rant saying, the original Christy script was better. She was originally attached to the film. Most of the early cast was queer. Sydney Sweeney ruined the movie. Christy deserved better. She basically implied straight actresses shouldn't play queer roles. If we follow that logic, only queer actors can play queer. Only straight actors can play straight. Only white actors can play white. That ruins the entire point of acting. Acting is literally about portraying someone you are not. And let's be real. Ruby Rose complaining about Christy is ironic considering she starred in one of the worst superhero shows ever made. That woman. That show wasn't bad because she's queer. It was bad because the writing was ass and the whole point of the series was pushing political ideologies rather than seeing Batwoman, I don't know, fight fucking crime. Representation doesn't fix bad writing, and it shouldn't exclude good actors who want to play meaningful roles. Now let's talk about the most important thing. Christy Martin, the actual woman the movie is about, defended Sydney, not just politely. She praised her. She said she was proud. She said Sydney captured her story. So how is Ruby, a third party, yelling Christy deserved better when Christy herself literally had Sydney's back? It makes the whole rant feel personal, not factual. And Sydney doesn't even care as long as the real Christy is proud of her. This Sydney Sweeney situation is a perfect example of how Hollywood is destroying itself. Everything is political now. Every movie, every casting choice, every ad, every costume, every haircut, every fucking tweet. Marvel is suffering. Disney is collapsing. People are tired of being lectured by entertainment. People just want to watch movies again. Hollywood keeps forcing politics into entertainment, then wonders why viewers are disappearing. And now? Humor doesn't even exist in 2025. Cancel culture is literally ruining filmmaking. It's embarrassing. Sydney eventually responded to the backlash, and her statement was honestly pretty mature. She basically said, if this movie helps even one woman find the courage to leave an abusive situation, we succeeded. She focused on the impact, not the numbers. And that's the part nobody wants to talk about. The story is important. Christy Martin's survival is important. Domestic violence awareness is important. And the fact that the actual woman supports the film? That should end the entire argument right there. But no, people were too busy dunking on Sydney and farming likes. Sydney didn't get canceled because of what she said. She got canceled because of what people wanted to believe she said. The internet doesn't wait for context. It doesn't care about nuance. It cares about outrage. People want drama more than facts. They want villains more than explanations. They just want downfall stories. But this whole thing proves one thing. The movie flopped, yes, but why? It wasn't about Christy Martin. It wasn't about Sydney Sweeney's performance. It wasn't about queer representation. It wasn't about racism. It was about the internet deciding, again, that being offended is a personality, and that is exactly why Hollywood is in the toilet. Please give this video a like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe. You can also send it to someone to try and change their minds.